But first, let's start with Fox Business's Madison Allworth. She is live in New York City for us, awaiting President Biden's arrival. Madison, what is on the president's agenda today?
Hey, good afternoon. The only thing that we have officially on the agenda is a campaign meeting for the president. No indication that he will talk about the migrant crisis, despite being just a few blocks away from the center of the migrant crisis here in New York City, the Roosevelt Hotel. As you mentioned, President Biden will be traveling to the southern border to Brownsville, Texas later this week. He's going the same day that President Donald Trump will be visiting and delivering remarks in Eagle Pass. Now, the president will be going to Brownsville, Texas, where he'll meet with U.S. Border Patrol agents and local leaders. But it is of note that that sector he's visiting, it's been slow and at times dead for some months now. Daily encounters there average between 200 to 400 per day. That compared to San Diego and Tucson, where we have between 1,000 and 2,000 migrant encounters per day. Now, the problem at the border only getting worse, not better. Deportation flights back to Venezuela are now in limbo. Those flights have been paused for 2 weeks, a potential retaliation of the authoritarian government there for the U.S. reimposing sanctions.
He has not looked to the future. He has not anticipated what would potentially happen if a country backs out of certain agreements, if they don't follow through with their agreement. It's where he fails. He doesn't play chess very well.
Venezuelans are one of the largest migrant groups that we see coming across the southern border and here in New York City. Here in the city, there are roughly 67,000 migrants that are currently in shelters like the one behind me. Estimates say that by this summer, there could be 90,000 migrants staying here in New York City. The president visiting this afternoon, but again, no plans to discuss the crisis that is overrunning our nation's biggest city. I'll send it back to you guys.
That's right. If he doesn't see it, it's not happening. Madison Allworth, thank you so much. And it's really insulting to me when he comes here to raise money. He comes here to New York City. He comes to LA, two of the worst offending cities with respect to blue policies right now that are essentially crumbling under his leadership and his administration, and dealing with a migrant crisis as well. He comes here to raise cash. He's postponing his border trip till Thursday, but it's just a last-ditch attempt again before the elections, because he knows this is a hot-button issue for people who are voting, to say, look, see, I'm going there, I'm doing something, I want to try to fix this, like it was all some big mistake, like it wasn't actually completely by design, which it was, to allow 10 million people into this country to change the demographics. What we're seeing right now in blue cities is exactly the way they want it to be.
Yep. He's coming to New York City. Going to put his head in the sand in New York City on the issue. As Madison said, he's going to Brownsville, a part of the border that isn't seeing a lot of activity. So interesting how he's really carefully, studiously avoiding the issues. And he's going to go down there and say Congress has failed to act. Congress isn't doing what it should do. Meanwhile, President Trump's going to go to the border. What's he going to say? This is what I'll do day one.
Yeah.
The contrast between the messaging here. One blames somebody else, the other show leadership.
Let's talk about some of these blue cities and the economic pressure that has been put on them. Denver now dipping into savings in 2024, pulling $5 million from its budget to service migrants. Chicago allocating $150 million to illegal immigrants in their 2024 budget, now demanding an additional $70 million. New York City, now estimates for sheltering new arrivals just went up to $4.2 billion this year, $4.9 billion the next year. These are the three hardest hitting cities. So when we talk about, why do voters care? Because it is such an economic issue, the way it is pressuring city budgets. We know one thing. You have to balance a budget. So if you increase revenue, that means you raise taxes, or you cut spending, you're cutting services like DMV, like what do you always talk about? The trash pickup.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Just
basic
stuff.
So that's it.
The numbers do not add up.
And there's no coincidence rather, that Venezuela doesn't want migrants coming back. They're like, we sent them over, no backsies, you keep them.
Yeah, no thanks, they're yours.